Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to an extra interview of Final Cut. Today, I'm joined by someone who is probably embarking on the greatest day of her life because she's with me. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the stars of Take That musical Greatest Days, Lindsay Bennett-Thompson.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Bless you. Just before we begin and start about Greatest Days, you've done a lot in UK TV, but most notably Coronation Street. So what was life being like on those cobbles?
Well, I mean, Coronation Street for like a lot of Northerners is a rite of passage. You know, it's the one job that, you know, all the family are going to be telling the neighbours about, they're going to be telling the postman about, and I'm surprised that my family didn't put it in the local gazette. But, like, the weird thing is, like, because you grow up with all these actors kind of in your living room. Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
So you already feel like you know them. But because I've been on Coronation Street twice, and I remember the first time that I went in, I just wanted to play it really cool, and like, you know, I don't know, just sort of kind of not fake it till you make it, but I just wanted to play it cool. But I'll be honest, I like nearly fainted when Audrey, who is played by, is it Sue Nichols? She said hello to me. She said hello to me in the hallway. And the thing is about everybody that works on there, and it sounds so cheesy, but I can guarantee if you interview anybody that's worked on Coronation Street, is just how incredibly welcoming they are. It's like a real, what's the word, like authentic love bomb.
Yeah.
But that comes from the casting. Like when you go into the casting and you see the receptionist at the, you know, right at the beginning of it, to everybody all the way through filming and et cetera, everybody's just incredibly authentic, and I don't know, maybe it's a northern charm. So yeah, it's a wonderful job to do, and it doesn't feel like work, which is great.
Yeah. Just to corroborate what Lindsay's just said, I actually went to Hollyoaks. I forget when it was, but everyone was so lovely. In fact, I'm probably going to make you laugh now, but I got starstruck by Jamie Foxx. Not Jamie Foxx. I forgot his name now. Who is it who plays Warren?
I'm so bad with names.
I'm not. That's the problem. Jamie Lomas. That's it.
Oh, Jamie Lomas. Yeah, right. Yeah,
I literally went starstruck. He went to me from. He was coming down the stairs with Rachel Shenton. Yes, that's how long ago it was. He just said hello.
I love Rachel Shenton. Yeah, she's fantastic. She's done so well.
She has, bless her.
An Oscar. You can't get better than winning an Oscar.
You can't, no. He just said hello to me, and I was just like, I want to say hello back, but my brain won't engage that Jamie Lomas has just spoke to me.
But then you do realise that everybody's just normal. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that just, I don't know, that can be a really grounding experience, is just realising that everybody's just going about their day and going about their job. And, yeah, but it still is easy to get starstruck, 100%, absolutely. I'm
waiting for my fiancée to get starstruck, but she hasn't yet.
Oh, okay. Who do you think they'll be starstruck by? There must be somebody.
I don't know, actually. There's a lot of singers she admires, but I don't think she'll go that far as being starstruck. Whereas I probably will.
Yeah, I have no shame. I will get starstruck, but like, I'll play it cool on the outside, but I'll be, you know, like an absolute quivering mess on the inside.
That literally sounds like how I will be. Bless you. Singers will quote, say, Beyonce, Christina, Britney, or nowadays Taylor, Katy, or Rihanna as an inspiration for getting them singing. As far as movies and TV go, who are yours?
I don't think I have anyone in particular, but I do really enjoy things that kind of challenge the status quo, like either it be in their choices, the themes, or the styles. You know, anyone, I suppose, who is brave enough to shake things up. Like, those people inspire me. That an example would be, like, I did a film that's coming out this year called In Camera by Nakash Khalid, and that film is absolutely bonkers, and it breaks a lot of genres you know what I mean? It doesn't follow one particular narrative, and it actually goes over quite a lot of different genres. And I end up playing 6 parts in it. And so for an audience member, I don't want to say too much about it because I really just want people, because I know it's been at Cannes, and I just want people to see it. If you want things that are slightly different, that do challenge the status quo of what cinema should be, then definitely watch it.
Ooh. And how well is it done at Cannes?
I don't know everything. It was just a case of I keep kind of, checking in with Nikash and checking in with the production company and stuff like that, and just seeing that that it was in Cannes. But that's as far as I kind of got with it, really. But I know it's going to do really well.
No reason why it shouldn't. It's at Cannes. That means it's probably already done well.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as your career go, what have been your main highlights? And you can't say Coronation Street because that is automatically one. That was one of my first ever professional jobs as an adult, and so that obviously that was a highlight. But my highlights, I think, are sort of always changing. I've really been so fortunate to work with people who are at the beginnings of their careers, like quite a lot of directors, and like to watch them do well, and also a couple of young actors that I've worked with, and watching their careers grow and watching them do well. I love that, but my own personal highlights or ambitions, I suppose, is just to keep working. Every job brings its own set of rules and expectations, and I love it all, really. Bless you. Any regrets in your career or what ifs?
I don't really have a great deal of regrets, but I mean, looking back, I think for a long time, I wasn't really being myself, especially in auditions. I used to try and guess what the director wanted and kind of go with that. And I remember I had a bit of a revelation. I read Bryan Cranston's autobiography, and there's just something shifted in me once I'd read that, of just trusting my own judgment and being a little bit more me in castings, and bringing a little bit more of my own self and my personality rather than trying to second guess things. And I ended up enjoying the process a lot more, being me. And I don't know whether that just comes with age and a little bit of Bryan Cranston in my life.
Well, we do say with age comes wisdom, and fair enough.
And I think you just start relaxing a little bit more. I'm so sorry if you can hear that noise. I'm having my windows and doors put in.
Oh, bless you.
No, it was supposed to be done yesterday, so I can only apologise. Hopefully it'll be finished quite soon. It's
all right. I've had a 6-month-old baby on before, so I think you're fine.
I'm going to try and see if I can shut this door a little bit more. Oh, gosh. There we go. So I think a lot of it does sort of come with age, but that has been my kind of revelation. But regret-wise, I suppose I wish I'd just figured that out sooner.
Is that one of the things you'd say to a younger you if you had the chance?
Oh, 100%. But again, it's, you can give that advice, but I think there's just a time where it sits with you. But I wish in a way that somebody had given me that advice earlier, and I might have been able to digest it a bit quicker. But there you go. You can't turn back the clock, can you?
No, not really. You are actually now to be seen in Greatest Stage, which I have watched, and I have enjoyed it very muchly.
Thank you.
It's a musical based on the band, for those not in the know, for whatever the reason. So how does it feel to do something associated with Take That?
Well, Take That are pop icons, of a generation, and whatever your taste in music, everyone knew Take That. And for so many people, they hold a huge place in their lives, don't they? That's already pretty powerful stuff. Being part of something that is iconic. Obviously, Greatest Days isn't about Take That as such, but it follows that kind of sense of nostalgia. And obviously, if you've seen the film, you understand a little bit more of what I'm saying.
I do, yeah.
Of what that nostalgia means. And obviously, they have such a big place in music history. So yeah, that's why it was, so much fun to kind of be a part of.
I've actually got a tale about Gary Barlow if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was when I can't remember which of the hiatuses they broke up for. I think it was about 5-6 years ago. I forget which one it was, but he was playing at my local arena, which is Nottingham, and I was sat near enough, you could say, in the front row, which I kind of said after theatre one year. I was kind of like, right, I'm never sitting in the front row ever again, but I did. And he shook hands with quite a few people in the front row, and I was one of them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Have you washed your hands since?
I've tried not to, but unfortunately I've had to. But there was that, and there was also the case of when the singer's talking between songs, he says, and he was like, "I know you've brought your very hard-earned pennies here. I just want to say thank you so much for coming out."
Yeah, I mean,
he's very humble.
Yeah. I think all of them are just, in a sense, very strangely, just still very, very ordinary. Ordinary people that are humble as well. And I think still now, I think that's the reason why people like, Take That, even though it's essentially sort of a three-piece, is because they've always been accessible, even though they were one of the biggest boy bands, in the world, especially kind of in the 90s. And just to be accessible and feel as though you are familiar with them and could go up and talk to them and they would just be really nice. That's quite a unique trait, isn't it?
I look forward to the day where I can actually shake hands properly with Mr. Gary Barlow.
You do a 2-hand shake or a high five. Go in for a high five or a fist bump.
I was going to say, a fist bump is how it is nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Go for it.
So, what is Greatest Days about? And for everyone who hasn't watched it yet, where do you come into everything?
Well, I mean, it's a comedy, drama, musical, but I think it was probably best described by the director, Cokie Gidroys, and she describes it as a love letter to friendship, which it absolutely is.
Oh, it is.
And it follows a friendship group who, when they're younger, so they're teenagers, they connect through their love of music. And then I'm going to give no spoilers whatsoever. There's some tragic events and life and adulthood get in the way. But then overall, it's about reconnection and love and music. And I play Irene, who is Heather's mum. And you see me in two different stages in Heather's life. So you see me when I'm in my 40s, and then you see me much, much older as well at the end of the film.
So how would you describe Heather's mum as a person?
Complex. She's a very, very strict woman who sort of lets fear dictate her life, which makes her incredibly overbearing. And obviously that causes fractions between her and Heather, who is such a brilliant character, so funny, and plays incredibly well. I mean, all the girls were so ridiculously, almost intimidatingly talented.
They were,
and they were just so brilliant. And I know for some of them, not all of them, I know for some of them it was their first ever acting job, and you just think, wow. They were just so incredible, and so to play someone like Heather's mum, it was a good contrast to the kind of feel good of the rest of the film.
Bless you. Throughout your career, had you wanted to do a movie based on a musical?
Honestly, I'd given it zero thought, as I'm not a musical theatre actor. I'd never considered that being in a musical would be any kind of possibility, but alas, they didn't need me for my singing or dancing ability, thankfully.
Bless you. So what are the challenges of doing a movie version of a musical?
Well, I mean, I don't want to answer to for anyone else but me, but absolutely none. As far as I'm concerned, there was no challenges, as I don't sing or dance in it that much. Do a little bit of singing and dancing at the end, but there were no challenges. I think the biggest challenges would probably best be answered by Cokie the director of what kind of she faced, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Did Gary Barlow or any other boys come on set at any point?
Yes, but I'm not going to give any spoilers. You do see Gary, Mark, and Howard pop up somewhere, but you will have to watch it.
I'll be honest with you, I have actually watched the movie. I literally did not see them, but then again, I probably was focused on the main characters rather than the ones in the background, which is a bit weird for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, you'll have to watch it again and see, because it's a fun little scene, actually. It's quite funny.
How far into the movie would I have to look for them?
Okay, they're probably, let me have a think, they're probably 3/4 of the way through.
Hold
yeah,
on.
they're 3/4 of the way through.
3/4 of the way through is basically when the plot becomes a bit more thickened, I seem to remember.
Yeah, and it's really funny, and it's a funny cameo that they have, and it's almost kind of satire. They're almost self-satirizing. Take that in a way, which just makes you kind of love them even more, because obviously that they're producers of the film, so they could have had some a bit much bigger part.
Yeah.
But I think from what I know, it was really important for them that this wasn't a film about them. It is a film about the fans.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to take any kind of limelight away from them.
Fair enough. Just for the audience who haven't watched it yet, but are a big fan of musicals, can you give them a preview of Greatest Days?
So what do you mean a preview? Like
kind of like preview. So you could say it's a comedy meets friendship / family meets tragedy meets a good time, if you like.
Well, there you go. You've done it for me. Do you know what? It's a really, really feel-good film. And, there were so many times, I mean, obviously I'd gone to watch it, and I took my husband along, and normally it wouldn't be his cup of tea at all. I have to drag him to any kind of theatre show. And he was just smiling all the way through. And you do get a bit of weird face ache, because it has got a wonderful sense of nostalgia. It's beautifully performed. The choreography is absolutely incredible, and there's loads of magical realism moments in it. It has one of my favourite choreographed pieces is when they're about to get on the plane, and there's kind of a Bob Fosse dance number, very 1950s inspired. And it's just so all singing, all dancing. It's wonderful, and you can't help but just come away from it feeling quite warm. And in the tragic moments, it's really sad.
It is. And
do you know what I mean? And it gets you. And I think you go from quite a lovely high, and then there's a crushing low, and then you're back to a high again. And it is a lovely little sort of roller coaster that you go on. I hope that has been concise. I felt like I waffled then.
No, I thought it was. I tell you what, the bit that did it for me is when the older and younger selves of the characters come together and sing.
Oh, yeah, that was so nice. And the thing is that I read the script, obviously. I read the whole script and stuff like that before, and I couldn't remember that bit being in there. So I don't know if that was a late kind of addition that they decided to bring them both together, or if I just kind of missed it. But when I watched that, it's like, oh, yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
And Greatest Days is out now, and probably still will be for another couple of weeks.
Yes,
yep.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But you are still a busy little bee because you have so much coming up aside from Greatest Days. Is there anything you can tell us about the projects without giving too much away?
Yeah, I think I can talk quite freely about them. I mean, I'm currently working on a new TV drama called True Love, which is based in Bristol. And that's, I feel so lucky. It's alongside an incredible cast of like some icons of theatre and film. Lindsay Duncan is in it, and Peter Egan's in it, Sue Johnson's in it, and it's a really, really funny but very peculiar drama, like crime drama. So keep a lookout for that. And yeah, I'm also a filmmaker, and I like to make short films. I do quite a lot of short films, and I'm currently in pre-production on 2 short films, kind of at the moment, with people that I'm collaborating with. So that's about it.
I wish you luck with all the projects.
Thank you.
The most research anyone has ever done that has been on this podcast has been Daniel Nelson for James Bond's Mortal Kombat. Literally everything was researched, including the kitchen sink. And I say that figuratively and literally.
Right.
Have you ever had to do research that extensive?
I would absolutely say that is complete role dependent, because there's obviously things that you have to research, with regards to, especially if it's a historical character or a real character, those kind of things that I think it's just really important to be a bit more informed, again, more than anything, if it is an historical character, of where this person's kind of coming from, their surroundings, their status, all of those things. So yeah, I think I have my own process of research of, well, from the basics of the who, what, why, when, etc., and then kind of really building up a character from that. If it's not already kind of given to you, you've got to fill in the blanks from the script, to create, hopefully, a well-rounded character that isn't just words off a script. So historical wise, I know that I did do one for a role that I didn't get, but I actually really enjoyed doing the research for it, and that was for a period drama. And I don't know, I think I'm a bit of a geek that way, and so yeah, I got the internet, and then went into not a YouTube hole, but what's the equivalent of an internet hole, where you just start researching somebody, and then it's just to the point where I felt like I actually really knew her.
I don't know what the word is, but I do know what you mean, because
like an internet wormhole of information, where I felt as though I could write their own autobiography.
Wow.
But I think it is important, as as an actor, or even sort of you're writing scripts as well, is to, as much as you can, is to research, your genre, or if it's a person, let's say hypothetically, if it's a police officer, is looking at how that people, the talk, the hierarchy, all of that kind of thing, and also the slang, all of those things. But those are the things I do find really interesting, especially with writing, is how to bring those kind of things to life.
Yep.
But I haven't researched the kitchen sink yet.
Not yet, but I'm sure there will come a time where you'll have to. Have you got anything coming up that you'd like to talk about that we haven't already discussed project-wise, or anything that you're personally involved in that you'd like to promote?
I think that was it, really. Like I say, then the thing that I'm currently filming at the moment is True Love, and then again the other projects, my collaborative projects, the short films, they'll more than likely be kind of at the beginning of next year, and that's why I'm kind of changing my own genres. I've primarily written kind of horrors, and my genre taste has slightly changed, so I'm now going into a bit more drama based things, which I'm really enjoying. So just stay posted, as they say. Oh,
you had me at horror. You definitely had. I've loved my horror since Alien scared the bejesus out of me as an 8-year-old.
I do love horror as well, and it's a really wonderful genre, and it's so vast. The type of horror that you can get, like psychological horror and sci-fi horror and all the rest of it, and and that's essentially where I started kind of my film career, as I started doing horrors, and they are just so much fun, especially what you see behind the camera, and it's not half as scary as when obviously it's all put together beautifully with all the music and everything, and it's quite interesting seeing the different versions of the film in your head, and then the final thing, and you go, actually that's really scary, but at the time the whole thing was very funny.
I do want to ask you a question about it now that you've brought it up. Have you ever written or thought about someone's death to the point where it scares you? Because I actually have.
Okay, well, tell me about your experience.
Well, I'm kind of a guy who kind of thinks of things on the spot or looks at movies and thinks, right, how can this be even scarier than it is? Well, I've got a sci-fi horror script that I'm sort of going in and out of. So I'll think about it. I'll work on it for an evening, give it a day's break, and then try and go back to it. Haven't got it on me because it's actually on another laptop in the other room. But basically, it's a case of there's a vessel being catapulted round the other side of the galaxy for various reasons. And basically, it's more psychological horror than anything.
Yeah, that's a good genre, that.
And the other thing is, the human mind isn't really as mapped as good as everyone wishes it was.
No, that's true.
So it's basically scare the bejesus out of everyone and then have them killed by the worst thing that they fear. So we could say being killed by a loved one or being killed by someone who will say bullied you as a child. And the one thing that's kind of made it worse is that if you are scared of said thing or been scarred by said thing, then it will kill you. After the interview, I can actually look it up and show you. But I am kind of a man who prefers a kind of innovative way. I mean, I don't know if you've seen See No Evil with WWE's former WWE wrestler Kane in it, but there's one death that involves Kane shoving a mobile phone down someone's throat.
Right, okay. Graphic.
But ingenious.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with that movie, it's a case of they die by what their sins. So Rachel Taylor's character was on her phone more than anything, and that's how she died.
Yeah. So it's kind of a redemption,
if you like.
Yeah. But I think that when you're writing, you have to write things that terrify you because then you've got to be scared as you're writing it because then essentially or hope your audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't want to scare your audience too far away that when you do test screenings, everyone walks out or a lot of people walk out.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's a fine line, but I think that, opening it up and making sure that is this scary or is this sick? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that as long as you tread on the right side of that tightrope, you're fine.
Can I also ask you, what is the one thing you wouldn't do in a horror to the point where if you did it, then it would basically not be a proper horror?
Oh.
Because I already know the answer to this because I've known the answer to this since Insidious.
Well, what's your answer?
CGI.
Oh, when you see them. Yeah.
Because
I'll agree with you. There have been a few where, what was the new one? Do you know the film that I actually really liked that normally it went against my own rule that I don't really like seeing the monster was I really liked Smile.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet. Is it any good?
It's absolutely brilliant, but the ending, it comes at you like a left punch and you're not expecting it whatsoever. However, the monster in that and also Barbarian is a really great horror film.
That's another one I've been meaning to look at, but it's kind of like, is it worth it? Is it not worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Both those are very much worth it. But with Insidious, I completely agree. As soon as I saw the monster, if the monster looks like a person just in a suit and it's just a reveal, then it kind of takes it out. For me, I'd rather just it be the trepidation or the mystery of what is behind this thing or not being able to see them fully. I don't mind seeing something, but if I can see them fully and it's a very real thing, then I agree. It kind of takes the mystery out of it.
But this is also going to be a contradiction, what I say. In 80s movies like, say, Nightmare on Elm Street and all that lot, even though they had CGI on it, do you still think it was more scary?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, that is essentially... So Freddy Krueger was really an incredibly scary character. But you see him right from the get-go. So there's no reveal, is there?
No, not
really. There's no big reveal. It's just him right from the beginning, and he can come into your dreams and there's no escaping him. He's omnipresent and he's incredibly powerful. And so, in a sense, I think because it was more kind of in your face, pure horror. I feel in the 80s rather than psychological horror, and I think that when psychological horror started to make headway, that those kind of just real monster type horrors kind of got a little bit left behind. And when people try to revisit them, I think just using old school methods of, the old school makeup and things like that can be a lot more scarier than a CGI thing, because especially if you look at it and you go, oh, that's just CGI, I'm not scared anymore,
Because the minute I saw Insidious, I'm assuming you've seen Insidious.
Yeah.
Right, there's the whole bit near the end where I can't remember where they're at, but it's when they're both dreaming. Patrick Wilson's running away, and you can see what looks like a licker from Resident Evil, but you can see it's fake as he's running along the wall. It's kind of like, that's kind of ruined it for me. That's kind of like put every single bit of horror element that was in me before. It's just gone because...
Yeah, it's such a fine line, isn't it? It's such a fine line. Of taking people on this journey and keeping them there and keeping them afraid. Really, really hard, and some people get it incredibly wrong and some people get it brilliantly right. Yep. Like one of the best horrors I've seen that has no monsters whatsoever was Midsummer. And I thought it was absolutely incredible.
Why is it your name in every movie I want to watch?
Oh, God, you need to get Midsummer down. I'd come back from Sweden, actually.
Oh, my God.
And I'd celebrated Midsummer in Sweden. And so I already had these kind of ideas of Midsummer. And then, it's just so beautifully crafted. Yeah. It's wonderful. And it is true, like in Midsummer, it doesn't go dark. And so it's one of the most incredible horror films that nothing is in the shadows. It's all very light. It just turns what the typical horror tropes are on its head. But definitely get that down. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the one thing that really bothers me about that movie is it's nearly 2.5 hours, which the horror isn't supposed to be.
It goes so quickly.
Does it?
Yeah, it goes really, really quick.
So for the next 3 nights, I've got to watch Midsommar, which is actually on Netflix. What else was there? Barbarian, which I believe is on Amazon Prime, which I have.
Yeah, and Smile.
And Smile, which is on Amazon or Paramount Plus. I have all 3, so I'm good.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Let me just write them down before I forget. So there's Midsommar, Barbarian, and the other one was... Smile. There we go. Right.
You have to also tell me that you've watched It Follows as well.
Oh, do you know what? I saw, as in Maika Monroe, you have sex, and then basically something... I saw that years ago. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And do you know what I kind of said about that movie? This was ages and ages ago. I said, if you don't want your children to have sex, just show them that movie and tell them that's what happens.
It had a really, really, selling that pitch must have been really, really difficult, but the way that just the actual kind of curse of it is so clever. It's the curse that makes it incredibly clever, of it's never ending, and somebody's always just going to be looking for you.
Yep, and it's a case of, if you want to get rid of it, you need to have sex with someone, not tell them, and then tell them, and basically get them to tell the next person, until you literally cannot tell anyone else.
Yeah.
I would like to know what happened at the end. Did it get both of them or what?
Oh, guys, 3 years ago. I think it was that kind of thing that it left you, didn't it? And it left you thinking that somebody is always searching. I don't think it had because it never ends, so it didn't have an ending.
But we can assume
it always lives on. The curse just continues.
Yeah. But I'm going to assume that they both didn't survive.
Yeah.
Especially after all the torment Mike and Monroe was put through.
Yeah.
Oh, bless
great
her.
film, though.
Do you know what? We should have this horror discussion another time because I've actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, I do like horror. Yeah.
I love it. Just before the quiz, have you got any socials? Just let me see if I can try and get my Instagram up right now, which I have.
Yeah, I do. My name's spelled a little bit differently, I think, on my Instagram. I think it's Lynsy and then Bennett-Thompson all together, I think. For some reason, I think that Lindsay Bennett-Thompson was already taken.
Let's have a look. Accounts. Hold on, I think I might know why. I think I spelled last part of your name wrong. I'll have to come back to that because I'm having a bit of trouble with it. But,
no problem.
But when I actually find you, I will follow you on Instagram. So.
Oh, super. I'll follow you back.
Oh, bless you. Are you ready for the Final Cut quiz of 2023?
Let's go for it.
So, what would be the one thing that you have learned in training or research for a role or writing that you still use in everyday life?
Trust your instincts, but remember that you're not always right. That helps me allow myself to be open to criticism, but also open to praise. Primarily just trust your instincks, be open, seek counsel when you need it, collaborate. Another thing that I've learned. Archery gets you nowhere. Don't train in archery. You'll never use it.
I take it you've got a story to tell about that.
Yeah, just did loads of archery when I was younger, thinking, this is going to get me loads of rolls. Never used it since.
Oh, bless.
There you go. Good skill to have, though.
But at least you can say at the end of the day you tried it.
I did. I gave it a good go. That'll be my tombstone. I gave it a good go.
3 projects that are your dream.
3 projects. So I think one would definitely be like a fantasy-based something like Lord of the Rings, like perhaps something. I'd love to do something with like full makeup transformation, like full prosthetics.
To the point where you're unrecognisable.
Absolutely unrecognisable. And there's just something really peculiar that happens when you don't recognise yourself. Like for instance, like I mentioned it before with the film that I'm in camera, where I play 6 different people, and that obviously that's never happened to me before. But every character looked completely different, and I remember being this one character that had this blonde wig on, and I was aged up, and just the costume and everything, and just the way that they did my makeup, and looking at myself and just going, this. I immediately started acting a completely different way. And there's just something so interesting about that. And I'd love to be able to, hopefully at some point in my career, explore that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But like, what would it be like to have full prosthetics? Like, suddenly, would it change the way that I walked or looked or any of those kind of things? Just be fun.
Bless you.
Another one... another project of my dream, American Horror Story. I absolutely love anything like that. I quite like dark things as well, and I just love the American Horror Story style and also how it goes over different genres. And another project that would be my dream is something like Black Mirror. I absolutely love anything that Charlie Brooker touches. Everything he touches is gold. So, yeah, that would be my top 3.
I'm going to assume that Black Mirror is going to have maybe another season because I actually have got Netflix up at the minute because it's still in the top 10, which more than likely it will be for the next God knows how many weeks.
It's so good, that series.
I might actually watch the new season, because I've heard good things about it.
It's fantastic. And he's changed. There are some things that, that old school fans feel like he's slightly derailed in his genre of that dystopian nightmare, but I just feel like he's exploring new avenues, and I feel as though he's still completely authentic to the way that he writes things. I actually read a really interesting article the other day that Charlie Brooker put. He asked an AI to write a show.
I heard this.
Did you hear it as well? So he asked an AI to write a show. He read it and thought, "Oh, that's not too bad," and then read it again and realised it was absolute drivel. But then, it's just an experiment, really. But then he realised, because obviously he'd put all of his old Black Mirrors into this AI system and it came up with a new one, he realised his own kind of writing followed very similar patterns. And so it was a really big learning tool for him as a writer to try and change things up. I always find that really fascinating. But yeah, that would have been a very interesting show to say an AI had written it, wouldn't it?
But it would have been, but I don't think Charlie would have gone for it.
No, he wouldn't have gone for it. A very interesting experiment.
Yeah. I think if he would have, he probably would have gone about 15 minutes into filming where he was kind of like, yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, and probably like self-sabotaged it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like highlighted the elephant in the room and sabotaged it.
But in his defence, I've never been a fan of AI doing a lot of stuff. They're supposed to be self-driving cars. I'm not a fan of that.
No, I'm so scared. I'm scared of drones. I'm scared, and also those things, I know that they have them in certain cities, these little robots that bring your shopping to you.
Oh, I would love one of them.
Oh, God, no.
But
those things terrify me.
But are you of the generation who watched Terminator 2 and thought, shit, this might actually happen one day? Oh, I am.
I feel like it is happening. The next thing is that drones are going to be... Well, drones do deliver certain things, don't they? Like in certain countries, like deliver your pizza or whatever. And I'm like, no, this guy's going to be full of them. I'm terrified. Just going to be a little old woman, like with a catapult, taking down all these drones.
I think that's probably the one thing that you and I can agree on is that...
Yeah, that's going to be my future.
Yeah, I kind of pray to God we don't have a real-life T2, but I have a feeling we might.
Scary future.
Unfortunately, people don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's true.
Yeah. So, in fact, while you've recommended to me Midsommar, Barbarian and Smile, what other horror movies would you recommend for me to watch in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, bloody hell, you're just taking my best three. Those are the ones that I've watched recently. There is another one by... Oh, damn it. The name's just popped out of my head.
James Wan?
So I worked with... if you've got a computer nearby...
I do.
Look up Oliver Park.
Why does that name ring a bell?
Well, I worked with Oliver on his second ever short film, and it was a horror film, and it did really, really well. And then Oliver went over to America and has ended up making this brilliant horror movie, and it's so good. So if you look up his name,
I'm on his IMDb right now.
Right, his feature film will come up. So I was in Still, which was his second horror short.
Hold on.
Absolutely brilliant director. And it should come
Director, previous... Still, A Night of Horrors, Nightmare Radio, The Offering.
The Offering, that's it.
Let's have a look at it.
So, really good. I read the script for it. It's fantastic.
Ooh, this looks interesting.
There's so many different tropes in it, and it follows these Orthodox Jews and a lot of and essentially a curse that goes on with it. It's so beautifully made. And if you want to talk horror, you need to speak to Oliver Park. He absolutely lives and breathes it. And he knows I learnt so much from him when we worked together. And this film really is a testament to his work. It's fantastic. It's a really, really great film.
Official selection at Fantastic Fest and Beyond Fest. Official selection. I'll tell you what, I'll have a look at the trailer in a bit. Because it does look, from the couple of bits on the trailer I've actually seen, it does actually look quite good.
It's really good. It's really, really good. I'll die on that hill. It's good.
Let me just have a look at let me just put that in the list I've just done. Oh, something tells me I'm gonna be coming to you for more horror movie recommendations. Although to be fair, if I was asked a recommendation list, first thing I'd say is Saw 1, 2, or 3, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not the first one, not every other. Although I recently bought MGM and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is actually on there. This is the one with Dennis Hopper, not Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
I've been meaning to watch that, but I tell you one thing I wouldn't recommend watching is Japanese horror.
Oh, I do like a good, Korean as well. Korean horror is fantastic. There's a great horror called The Audition.
I've heard about that. Isn't that the one?
That might be a Korean. That's fantastic. And there's another one. Is it called The Twins or something?
Is it being invited? Well, I think it's something. I think it was based off that. I think because it is actually based on a Korean horror movie of the same name.
Right. Well, The Audition's fantastic, but I think that Korean horror, they're so brilliant visually. There's hardly any dialogue, and they're just so good at that visual imagery and cinematography and creating that sense of horror. And I 100% recommend Korean horrors.
To be honest with you, I have said many times I recommend anything Asian, whether it's Japanese or Korean. Although saying that, I have Ringu, as in the original Japanese trilogy, in my DVD collection. It's still in the packaging because I've seen 20 seconds of Ringu and I have no intent on having nightmares, which I probably will have.
That's it. It depends because they stay with you. They stick. They really do stick with you.
Although saying that, I do have Train to Busan on DVD.
I've never heard of that one.
It's basically a zombie outbreak happens on a train from I think it's Seoul to Busan.
Oh, okay.
There's actually an American remake being done. I think it's called Train to New York, which will suck.
Yeah, it will do.
Unfortunately,
it will do. There's some really good stuff on Netflix actually, with some Korean horror, especially with Zombie, Alice in Borderland. That's not.
I've watched that.
No, have you watched it? It's really good.
It.
And there's another one with a very similar trope, but it's zombies and people turn into monsters, and the name escapes me.
Is it set in a high school?
No, it's set in a big block of flats.
I think I might know which one you mean. I know there's one set in a high school. I forget what the name is, but I know it's on there. I actually have got Netflix up at the minute, so when we finish, I'll have a quick look for it.
Yeah, there's one that's set in a big block of flats, and then just people start turning into monsters, and there's one character who essentially he has kind of a monster gene, but he doesn't turn into a full monster. But I will say that their CGI with their monsters is absolutely brilliant. It's terrifying.
The high school one's called All of Us Are Dead.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out.
I'm just trying to... Oh, yeah, Midsommar is here. It's leaving Netflix on Independence Day, so I'm going to have to watch that tonight.
Yeah, get that down, yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours 27. That's kind of what made me a bit worried about it. It's like, no horror's ever more than 2 hours. So I'm kind of like, should I really? But
yeah.
On your advice, I will watch it tonight, since it's leaving on 4th of July.
Thank me later.
I will. Few last questions in the quiz. So originally it was name me a director, but we did it a couple of weeks ago to name me anyone in the entertainment industry you'd want to work with to the point you would choose them over anyone or anything else. Just to give you an example, I am a huge Chris Nolan fan, and every single day I try and make sure that everyone knows how great Chris Nolan is. So even if, say, someone like Phoebe Waller-Bridge or maybe even Taika Waititi came in and said, right, be part of my movie, I'd say, sorry, I've already had an offer from Chris Nolan, I'm going straight to Chris Nolan, I'm sorry.
Right, okay. Oh, God. This is a really difficult question because there are too many. I think it would be difficult to, there's so many people that I admire. It would be far too difficult to pick one. I think anyone with like a clear vision who works alongside their team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like working with somebody that is tyrannical or anything like that, I would really, really struggle with. But I feel like people who are more collaborative or have a clear vision, they'd be an absolute dream to work with. There's a plethora of actors that I'd love to work with, just for my own selfish reasons, that you feel like you hopefully would suck a little bit of that incredible talent and aura from them. But yeah, just, directors and things like that, it's too hard, and I really wish I had a much more interesting answer for you.
No, not really. To be honest with you, there's a lot of directors that I would love to work with. There's a lot of composers I'd like to work with. But the thing is, Chris Nolan for me has always been the one that I would choose over everyone else, because I just absolutely love his movies. I mean, Inception was released God knows how many years ago, and everyone's still like, has he survived? Did he survive that day? Yeah. Now, obviously, you get asked thousands of questions in your career. So this is actually, it was a 2-part, but it's a 3-part now. So what is the one question you wished you were asked more? What is the one question you wished you were asked less of, or not at all? And 3, have I done either of the 2 in this interview?
Okay. Questions I wished I was asked more. I think probably maybe like more non-work related questions, but I don't know if that'd be quite boring if you asked me what my favourite banana bread recipe was, which I do have, if you want it. But I think you did ask quite a few non-work related sort of questions, which I find myself, because just in my kind of job, even though my job is interesting, I find it much more interesting to just learn more about people. Do you know what I mean? Like, just get into the nitty-gritty of what makes people tick, and things like that. What's one question I wish I was asked less? Well, I don't really have one, really. I suppose just in life, the question I wish I was asked less comes from my husband when he asks me where we should go for dinner, because we can never decide. Or another one that I do get quite a lot is what's up, because I do have the most tremendous resting bitch face, which is quite a skill that I have. I mean, nothing is ever up. It's just the way that my face sits, and it looks like it's always silently judging you. So yeah, which I'm not. It's just the way my face falls. So yeah, I do get that a lot. Are you okay? Is everything okay? I wish people didn't ask that.
Better that they care than they don't care, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, or just people thinking that I am silently judging them.
Bless you.
With some side eye.
So you've already answered this before we came on, but just for everyone's benefit. So what I'd like to do is keep the quiz fresh. Every year is to update the questions, but for next year's quiz, I've decided to let my guests decide next year's quiz questions. So the rules are as follows. You can use any of the questions I've asked today as a guideline if you decide to struggle. They can include multiple choice about, say, fashion, entertainment, art, anything in the entertainment industry. To gain brownie points, they must be challenging, but not too challenging to the point where people can't answer or refuse to answer.
Okay.
I'm not a man who prefers to dig into personal lives, so I do actually ask nothing too personal. The most important thing, above all else, is the question that you are going to put down to ask. You must be comfortable with asking it yourself. So it is already in there, but just for the viewers' benefit, what did you put in?
Okay, so you are 16 at school, sat with your careers advisor, and you can't pick the job that you do now, and the careers advisor asks you what you want to do when you grow up. And you can't pick the job that you have now, so what other career would be a potential contender if you weren't doing your job now?
Which is a very nice case of what if.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah. I had 2. I would be a stunt woman, that was one of the things, until I realised that you actually had to have some kind of physical skill to be a stunt woman. Or I did throw around for a bit that I wanted to be a nun. But then I realised that you have to be quite religious to be a nun. I just quite like the quiet life.
So do I.
But yeah, then I realised what it took to be one. But those are my two other contenders.
Bless you. Lindsay, it's been an honour. I hope to have you back on at some point. And I've really enjoyed the last hour. Hopefully one day in the near future we can have a discussion about horror films and what they mean to us as a whole.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you so much. It's been lots of fun.
It's been an honour. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, Lindsay Bennett-Thompson.
Thank you.